Hello, this video will be a walkthrough of the basics of Google Calendar. I'll be presenting this as if I am presenting this to my colleagues who may be familiar with basic Google Drive and Gmail, but are not familiar with Calendar. Google Calendar is to your scheduling what Google Drive should be now to your lesson planning. Google Drive was able to take is for me at least is able to take the place of my traditional lesson planning, keeping data on my home computer, and then having to transfer it over to school when needed. Google Drive became kind of my one-stop shop for keeping my materials, keeping my data, keeping my lesson planning, my unit plans, and so forth. Google Calendar it should be that for your schedule. It's really, really good as far as keeping track of IEP meetings that might be coming up, other school events that might be coming up, other particular happenings that you might have going on, such as detention duty, after school help, and different club meetings, and so on and so forth. I'm going to show you the basics of Google Calendar today. Once again, just like with the Google Drive, as long as you have got as long as you've got access to a Gmail account, then you can have access to a Google Calendar. There's no additional fee for it or anything like that. So I'm going to enter in my password to log myself in. I opened up right to my calendar. Suppose I opened up on my Google Drive. I'm going to go to my Google Drive for a second. Okay, so back in my Google Drive, if I want to access my calendar, I can do a couple different things from here. I can click on the calendar tab. That'll bring up the tab here that I can open up into a new screen, or I can go to the 9 dots up above and click on the calendar, and it'll open up in a new tab. Okay, so I've got my calendar here. What I'm going to do first, as you can see, I've got a bunch of different calendars on here, just from some of my previous classes. I'm going to create a new calendar here for the purposes of showing off some of the basic features here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Settings. If you want to create a new calendar, now you can set a bunch of different things here. You can set your time zone, you can set your language, you can set different things. Some of the default settings right there, notification sounds. You can show how what options appear up on your calendar. Nothing too crazy. Um, you can set your working hours, work location, and so forth. All that is something that you can do. I'm going to go down to Add Calendar, create a new calendar there. I'm going to create a sample for the purposes of showing off here. I'm going to set the time zone as Eastern Time Zone, New York. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my calendars here. I'm going to go to sample. I'm going to get rid of all the other calendars here for the moment. We don't need them. You can actually go back and delete these calendars at any point in time. These are some calendars left over from this past school year. I will likely replace these with new calendars coming up next year. Okay, so this is my sample calendar I'm going to be using here. Now, if you notice too, there are some other calendars that are built in, holidays in the United States. So this will bring up some basic info up top just for some big holidays that might be coming up. Obviously, this was made in 2020 because tax day is July 15th. So I've also got a staff calendar on there. Some of these might come standard in your district if there's any kind of staff events or like school-related functions that might be going on. Okay, for the purposes of the sample calendar, now I can view this a bunch of different ways. I can review this day by day with all the time slots there. I can go week to week, as you see. I can go month to month if I so chose. Again, some of the holidays showing up there. I can go to year if I so chose, or I can go to the just looking at scheduling different events that are coming up. Everything that's on my standard calendar now is just the holidays. We'll be adding to this as this goes along. I could also go to a 4 day at a time calendar just to make this. It's a bit of a bigger view than doing the entire week worth of stuff all at once. We're going to go with the 4 day calendar for right now. So what's the best way that you could really use this? Now, what you could do is you can set up when certain events are taking place during your day. So, for example, let's imagine I'm going to create If I go to create, now I can create my event. Let's suppose that I'm going to have say this is, I'm just going to go the first day of school. Okay. What I can do is I can set my time frame when this is going to be. First day of school for us, hopefully anyway, given depending upon how this goes, is going to be the 8th. So if this is a multi-series event, you could pick your end date, or you can keep it on the same day depending on how it goes. You can add guests. This more comes into play if this is more for like a meeting to set up. We'll be doing this on a couple of the other examples I'm going to show here. You can do a room location. My room here is in 330. Add that again. Okay, I'm going to go back to that. Okay, I just clicked on there. What I can do is I can still edit the event even after I put it on the calendar. I can make this an all-day event if I so chose. If this is, say, we'll talk about the repetition in one of my other examples right there. Imagine, and this is probably going to happen for some folks out there, basically, if I want to include a Google Meet video conference. I had to do this for some of my virtual lessons that took place during the closure from 2020. So what I can do is I add Google Meet video conferencing. What it does, it gives me a link. What I can do is I can copy this link the meeting ID, I can share this meeting ID with my students' emails. On Google Classroom, I can share this out with as a code, and then the students will be able to log into the meeting, and all their computers can link up to my meeting site as long as I'm there. And for whatever reason, this is more useful for IEP meetings. But suppose you've got a parent that is on the road or is at work, can't get to a computer. If you want them to do a Google Meet, they can also sign in, or they can also call in, I should say, with a telephone number and a PIN number as well, as long as that gets provided to them ahead of time. And so that does make it very much convenient. I have my room on there. You can change from like a busy or a free option. This could be public. This could be private. You can upload particular documents that might be pertinent for the meeting. Maybe I could upload if this is my first day of school, and if I was using the calendar, I can upload my syllabus onto there, and so forth. Okay, so that's a pretty basic option. Let's pretend I want to do say my office hours, my after school hours, which I did have to do during the pandemic. Every day we had to set aside time for office hours for my students. The first day of school event was a one-time event, and what I could do is there is a slot for appointment slots if you so chose. This might be a good idea if you've got a lot of um, different people coming in at once. If you want to leave this open, you can have kids sign up for it. For example, let's pretend I want to have my office hours with appointment slots. I'll make my office hours, for example, from 6 o'clock p.m. until 9 o'clock p.m. at night. I can choose for them to be able to have a single slot, or I can do slots with duration. I could say maybe it goes from 30 minutes. Let's say if I give each student 10 minutes. This is overlapping here, so I'm going to make this a bit of a different day. Let's make it the following Monday. Let's make it for the 15th. I can save it. And I'm going to go further on in the calendar. If I want to move from my 4-day calendar, I can go here. And here I can book some appointments up. So if a particular student wants to jump on, I have to go all the way ahead, actually. Problem with doing this in advance, you have to go all the way ahead. So here are some of the appointment slots I've got. I've got a 10-minute slot there. I've got another 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and so forth. And so this person can sign up for the appointment slot right there where I'm going to put my room number. And I booked that appointment slot right there. Again, that can be a little bit trickier to use. You could also make this non-appointment, just have like one general session where people just show up and you kind of answer questions as needed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of start fresh with this. Dismiss. Mr. Saunders' office hours once again. And setting the time. I can add a Google Meet and Greet with a code. I've got the code right here that I can share out with students. This would be something that I would share on my Google Classroom or Schoology page as well. All the students would have to do is they'd have to just basically log in using this code, and they'll be able to jump in and be able to touch base with me right in the course of the meeting. And again, for other meetings, you can just call in as needed. Okay. Now, obviously, I don't want to do my office hours in one go. I want to be able to do the say, a couple times a week, once or twice every Monday, and so forth. So if I wanted to make it repeat, I'm going to go up here, go into the meeting details. I'm going to put in. You can go daily if I want to have my office hours at the same time every day. I can do it weekly. I can do it monthly. I can also customize it depending upon what I wanted. I'm going to repeat it so I could repeat once every couple of weeks, once every 9 weeks if I so chose. I could pick an endpoint as well, or it ends after, like, say, 13 occurrences if I want to map out the school year. I could repeat it on different days during the week. Say if I wanted to do it Tuesdays and Thursdays, I could do it then. Repeat this once a week. Say ending will end the office hours at the end of the school year, the theoretical end of the school year of the 11th of 2021. I'm going to save it. If I look at my calendar now, if I look at each week, I have got office hours. I go by week. I've got office hours every Tuesday and Thursday up until the very end of the school year. It's November. So that can be a good way to let your students know when you might be available for extra homework help or so forth. You can pick out your own hours. You can customize it out. And you can also share this image you can share this out on your Google page as well. So you can embed this into your website. You can embed this into a blog that you might have. That way your students can have access to the calendar and know when you're available when. What you could also do with the calendar, if you're say in special ed, I'm going to create an IEP meeting for student JC. What you could do is say this meeting is going to be on January 29th. We're not going to meet at night. We're going to meet at say 10:30 in the morning. Say it's going to last until about 12:30 or so. I can go and add rooms. So say if I want to meet in the guidance room, as a different location if I'm outside the building, which I won't be. Description of the meeting, and if I need to invite other guests, say if I'm going to invite some of my colleagues to the meeting, I'm not going to send this out, of course, but I get to see some of their, I think, see if they're busy. I noticed that Mr. Sorello is busy from 8 to 9 a.m. on in January of 2021. The calendars do overlap. That way you can figure out whether someone can make the meeting or not. And then if I save it, the invites will go out to these people, and they'll know that the meeting is coming up, and they'll be able to choose to accept it, or they can decline it for whatever reason that they can. You could also send this out to the email of some of your parents as well, or to your students, just to invite, say, a mom, a dad, and so forth, to an IEP meeting. Okay, so I don't want to send that out, so I'm going to discard that. Don't want my colleagues wondering why I'm planning an IEP meeting. Okay, so those are some of the basics of Google Calendar, and it's a pretty useful tool for planning out, when certain field trips might be coming up, when obviously with my office hours. IEP meetings have been the most useful as far as I've been found for this using this program. Make some use of it, and try to fill your own needs with it if possible. Best of luck on Google Calendar.